So we talked about the atmosphere of one Rockstar game, Grand Theft Auto 3, but what about another game that was released the very same year in 2001 that was even darker, grittier, and way more creepy? That game is Max Payne, and while there were unsettling elements in GTA 3, we could relax and enjoy ourselves with many distractions and relaxing elements. Max Payne does not provide the same vibe and instead makes you feel far more unsettled and paranoid. Max Payne has an atmosphere that is incomparable to any other game I've played, and there will never be any other game like it. And if you've watched my videos on GTA 3, you may feel you've heard this before, and you have. Because 2001 was definitely a special time in gaming where experimentation and innovation was the name of the game. And gaming is just not done in this manner anymore. So I actually never owned this game before, but played it for the first time with the same friend I played GTA 3 with back in the day for the first time on the PS2, way back in 2001. But I decided to pick the game up on Steam when it was on sale for a measly $3, a small price to pay for such an unforgettable classic. So let's talk about Max Payne's incomparable atmosphere. This is the incomparable atmosphere of Max Payne. Now, the first thing that will surely captivate the player's interest is the graphical style. I mean, in what other era of gaming would you see this? Faces frozen in time, unmoving, twisted, and disturbing. This right off the bat makes the game look like a fever dream, where faces like this would be accepted, but no, this is how the characters, even the main character Max, look, and it's weird to say the least. What we have here is a film noir style game narrated by Max himself, with huge sprawling levels with enemies lurking to shoot you around any possible corner, and graphic novel cutscenes that have surreal photograph artwork. This is a stylish game, and the developers at Remedy took great pride in the presentation, look, and feel of the game. Oh, and it definitely has a vibe, a dark vibe, a seedy dark vibe. You'll start off with Max returning home to find his baby and wife murdered by junkies in a gruesome scene. I still to this day cannot believe this game had the balls to depict a dead baby in a turned over crib. I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't care who you are, this scene will make you feel for Max, and it's one of the most horrific openings to any game I've ever seen. This is beyond dark. You'll find yourself in the subway as you start Max's journey with only mobsters present without a single passenger in sight. And the unsettling atmosphere sets in right away, as you'll notice there's no music, and it'll only kick in during key parts of the levels. But for the most part, you'll find yourself traversing to the sweet, unsettling sounds of pure ambiance. And you can see why Remedy made this choice and why it's so brilliant. Constant music would have cut the tension and made you feel a bit more at ease. And while they simply could have composed some creepy music and made things feel tense that way, it works so well to just have your very environment provide that sense of uneasiness. Random clangs and bangs, the sounds of the subway where the source of the noise is unknown. Is someone lurking nearby, or is it simply just a sound that is the product of the environment? And you'll quickly notice that Max Payne has you traversing many liminal spaces, going from hallway to hallway and room to room, awaiting what's next. Things only get worse as you enter Lupino's Hotel, one of the sleaziest hotels ever, that would make the Bates Motel shiver in fear. This place feels like every possible sin and misdeed on the planet was committed here, and it's quite dilapidated to say the least. And man, oh man, the sounds you'll hear here are just beyond unsettling, as there's periodic banging, creaking, and the muffled sounds of talking from other rooms and floors, as well as the ramblings of junkies. This place is certainly a place where you'll feel a sense of paranoia. The use of sound really gets to you here, and you'll feel like you wish you knew exactly where these sounds are coming from, but you'll never quite know. For me, that's always been a source of unease for me, especially as a child. I hated not knowing what caused a sound, and I would always ask my parents if they knew the source of a noise at night. Max Payne knows how to capitalize on our common fears, and sound is always a core way of unnerving the audience. And what a better way to unnerve you with noise as you roam the liminal hallways of a harrowing hotel. It's a similar story when you have to enter this apartment complex, except it's even darker and dingier. And there's even more junkies, and they say some pretty disturbing things.
You're gonna die. 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 It's coming. It's coming. You're gonna die.
And this type of setting reminds me a lot of urban exploring, which is a risky hobby that some people take on. But it makes for some fascinating and riveting content, where people explore abandoned buildings and sometimes run into squatters, and things can get scary really fast. And I started to let my imagination wander a bit and think of this area as a bit of an urban exploration simulator. Hey, now there's an idea for a game. There's nothing more quite anxiety-inducing than the unknown, and what lays around the bend of a corridor or at the end of a staircase where what's next is not always fully in view. You'll really have your hairs raised when you come upon this little apartment unit with a TV playing an episode of Address Unknown, about a man who has a dream about seeing a man who looks like him talking to a flamingo, and then a spine-chilling scream can be heard. And damn, if you're not ready for this, dear lord, are you in for a scare.
And the flamingo speaks again. I have no idea what that means. And that's when I always wake up to my own scream in that brightly lit white hospital room, strapped to my bed.
And what a better way to transition into talking about something that straight up fucked me up as a kid. And that's the nightmare levels, and man oh man, was this something to behold. I was 14 years old, and I had not experienced something so fucked up in a video game up to this point. The cries of Max's wife and his baby can be heard as he navigates a twisted version of his apartment with a maze of corridors splattered with blood, and an unsettling piece of music plays, and you'll be forced to travel along a blood trail twice as you follow the cries of your baby as a guide, and the trail ramps up in difficulty on the second one. I originally played this on the PS2, and on the second nightmare level, when you fall off the blood trail, you can hear the same horrifying scream that you heard on the TV earlier. Even if you're playing this on the PC, you'll still hear it if you take the wrong path on the blood trail. And I mean, just look at this. I'm traversing a trail of blood over a black void as the endless cries of my child can be heard. And your wife is actually pleading with you as if you were the one who was going to kill her. We find out that is what the nightmare actually is about, as Max is probably blaming himself for the death of his family. The opening to Max Payne was sickening enough, and here we have an even more gruesome reimagining of those sadistic events. I'm not kidding when I tell you my friend and I were both getting so freaked out by the stage, especially due to that horrible shriek my friend was playing. I could see how unnerved he was by the experience, as he kept falling off the second blood trail, and we had to keep hearing that scream over and over. I said, why not mute the TV? And he responded that he needed to hear the baby's cries to properly navigate the maze. I remember going to bed later that night after returning home, and I couldn't get the scream and imagery out of my head. And while screams of terror may be fear-inducing enough, the yelling of satanic scripture is no better. The Ragnarok nightclub brings about a demonic shift in tone as we make our way into the depths of the club and discover the gangster Lupino's hidden away chamber where he's been practicing Satanism, and you'll see the dead bodies of sacrificed victims with pentagrams all over the place and candles, creating an eerie, murderous environment. You feel like you're just at the mouth of hell without actually being in it. As you near his location, Lupino can be heard shouting as he recites satanic passages, and this is quite alarming, to put it mildly.
To me all! Astaroth, Beelzebub, Asmodeus, Baphomet, Lucifer, Loki, Satan, Cthulhu, Lilith, blood to you all! Secret, living under the skin. I've seen it, the corruption of flesh.
We might have seen games like Doom depict satanic imagery in a more animated fashion, but Max Payne actually brings things into the real world, where instead of actual demons, we get a person who is devoting themselves to a world of demonic madness. And to wrap things up, let's talk about the Acer headquarters building. And while this place is the most hectic area in the game, there is plenty of atmosphere to be had here. And the cold, sterile corporate vibe helps to create a sense of unease as it is. But then you hear this. Yeah. That's the ultimate unease. A random laugh can be heard. And when things are quieted down and you come to these dark areas near the windows, all alone at night, in a life-threatening situation, it really makes you feel a bit perturbed. It really starts to settle in that you're alone with only your arsenal of weapons to count on, as an army of goons are actively waiting to catch sight of you so they can put a bullet in you as you fight your way to the penthouse to kill Nicole Horn, who is responsible for orchestrating the death of your family. There are so many hallways and overly spacious areas where things can be so empty and then suddenly be swarming with enemies. This place feels so large, and it feels like you're on an endless trek through this massive liminal space, going from place to place, hallway to hallway, only to find more obstacles in your way, keeping you from your ultimate goal. So there you have it, one of the most atmospheric masterpieces ever created in video game history. Max Payne delivers an experience like no other and creates a mood you can't shake. It's not a happy game, it's not an uplifting one, but it's an emotional thrill ride, and one that sticks with you, just like the Nightmare levels did when I played it over 20 years ago. You never forget the game that scared you into an anxiety-filled bout of rumination in the twilight hours. And I'll never forget Max Payne. So that just about does it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about Max Payne and the atmosphere that it offers in the comments below. I'm looking forward to this discussion. And please subscribe if you haven't already and click the bells to get all the notifications for all future videos. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch and all my subscribers for their continued support. And any donations that you could give on Patreon would be greatly appreciated. And guys, I'll see you next time.